The waiter placed the Wagyu steak in front of Sebastian, right next to the velvet box containing the vintage Rolex I had spent 6 months saving for. $3,500. It was a congratulatory gift for his promotion to creative director. A promotion I had secured for him by staying up 3 nights in a row to redesign his entire pitch deck. He opened the box, smiled that practiced, charming smile, and didn't even take it out. When the waiter beamed at us and asked if we were celebrating an anniversary, Sebastian laughed. It was a cold, dismissive sound that cut through the ambient noise of the restaurant. "Oh no," he said, not even looking at me. "She is just a good friend helping me celebrate. I am very single." Just like that, 18 months of my life were erased before the appetizers even arrived. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. Have you ever felt invisible in a room full of people? I'd love to know who's part of our community. I didn't flip the table. I didn't throw the expensive red wine in his face. Froze. But inside my head, the rewind button was hit, playing back the last year and a half in high definition. I saw every late night I spent ghost editing his portfolios while he slept. I saw the weekends I spent redesigning his personal brand while he played video games. I saw the way I had curated my entire personality to be the perfect low-maintenance accessory. I sat there, watching him slice into his steak, and I realized I had fallen into the oldest trap in the book. I had bought into the myth of the cool girl. For 18 months, I had convinced myself that having needs was a weakness. I told myself that if I demanded nothing, I would eventually be worth everything to him. I thought if I never asked for a label, he would give me one out of gratitude. I believed that being chill was the same thing as being lovable. But looking at him now, preening with the watch I bought him, treating me like a distant cousin he was doing a favor for, I realized the brutal truth. Being low maintenance didn't make me a girlfriend. It made me a service provider. I wasn't his partner. I was his unpaid intern, his therapist, and his stepping stone. And he had just stepped off. He ate his steak. I drank my water. I watched him check his reflection in the back of a spoon. He wasn't awkward. He wasn't embarrassed. He was relieved. He had gotten what he needed from me, the promotion, the status, the expensive watch, and now he was discarding the husk. I realized then that this wasn't a relationship ending. It was a contract expiring. And he had just fired his best employee without severance. I didn't say a word for the rest of the meal. I didn't ask why. I didn't beg. I just watched him, cataloging every arrogance, every dismissal. When the check came, he let me pay. Of course he did. I signed the receipt with a steady hand. Anger wasn't loud this time. It was clinical. It was the cold, hard clarity of a balance sheet that doesn't add up. I went home, washed my face, and went to sleep. I didn't cry. I had work to do. The text came at 9 a.m. the next morning. "Thanks for dinner. The watch is cool. Let's keep things low-key for a bit. Work is crazy. No love you." No acknowledgement of the 18 months we spent building a life. Just a dismissal. I didn't respond. I opened LinkedIn instead. There it was. His post. Thrilled to announce my new role as creative director. Hard work pays off. He had tagged his boss. He had tagged his mentor. He had even tagged the office intern. He didn't tag me. The person who built the portfolio. The person who taught him how to use the design software he lied about knowing on his resume. I scrolled down to the comments. Everyone was congratulating him. But then I saw one that stood out. It was from Colette, a sharp public relations specialist at a rival firm. Her comment was simple. "Congrats. Did you finally learn how to use Photoshop? Or is there another ghost in the machine?" It was a dig. Precise surgical strike. I messaged her immediately. "Can we get coffee?" She replied in 2 minutes. "I have been waiting for you to ask." We met an hour later at a coffee shop downtown. Colette didn't waste time with small talk. She looked at me over her espresso and told me the truth. She used to date Sebastian too 2 years ago. The pattern was identical. He found a talented woman, mined her for contacts and skills, used her to level up, and then discarded her the moment he got what he wanted. He used her media list to get his first big break. He used another girl before her to get his apartment. He wasn't just a bad boyfriend. He was a parasite. He didn't date women. He acquired assets. And once the asset was depleted, he liquidated it. Listening to her, the last shred of my sadness evaporated. This wasn't heartbreak. This was a business model. And I was just the latest investor he had defrauded. Colette looked at me, her eyes hard. He thinks he is untouchable because we all go away quietly. We all feel stupid for falling for it, so we hide. He nodded. She was right. Shame keeps us silent. But I wasn't ashamed anymore. I was furious. He has a shared cloud drive, I said, the plan forming in my mind. He is too lazy to change his passwords. Colette smiled. It was a dangerous smile. Then let's see what he is hiding. I went home and opened my laptop. The screen glowed in the dim light of my apartment. I logged into the cloud drive I had set up for him a year ago. He hadn't changed the password. Of course he hadn't. He thought I was too pathetic to be a threat. I navigated to a folder titled, My Designs, 2024. Clicked it. My breath stopped in my throat. It was my work. All of it. The pitch deck for the new tech startup. The branding concepts I had sketched on my iPad while he watched TV. Even the personal sketches I had shown him in confidence. Vulnerable ideas I hadn't shown anyone else. He had taken them all. He had removed my watermarks. He had rebranded them with his name. And then I found the email draft. It was to his boss. It claimed that he had taught me everything I knew, positioning himself as the mentor and me as the amateur he was graciously helping. The betrayal wasn't just romantic anymore. It was professional theft. He hadn't just used me for emotional support. He had committed intellectual property theft to secure a job he wasn't qualified for. This was the kill shot. This was the evidence that would turn a breakup into a lawsuit. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I downloaded everything. The original files with the metadata proving I created them months before his copies existed. I saved his email drafts. I saved the text messages where he asked me to fix this for him, because he didn't know how. I compiled a dossier of fraud. Then I called Ryan. Ryan was a senior architect at my firm. He was everything Sebastian wasn't. Talented, honest, and obsessed with merit. He had always respected my work. I met Ryan at the office after hours. I laid it all out. The stolen files. The timestamps. Pitch deck. Ryan looked at the screen, his jaw tightening. This is the pitch he won the Technova account with, he asked. He nodded. It is my pitch. He presented a watered-down version of my original vision. Ryan looked at me. Blair, this isn't just him being a jerk. This is fraud. He sold a client a skill set he doesn't possess. If they find out, he is done. I know, I said. That is the plan. Ryan didn't try to talk me out of it. He didn't tell me to be the bigger person. He looked at the evidence, and he saw the injustice. The Technova CEO is looking for authenticity, Ryan said. That is why they liked the pitch. If they knew it was stolen, they would walk. He pulled out his phone. I can get us a meeting, but you have to be ready to burn him down. You can't hesitate. I looked at the folder of stolen dreams on my screen. I remembered the way he laughed at the steakhouse. I won't hesitate, I said. I'm going to light the match. The industry awards night was a sea of black ties and ambition. Sebastian stood in the center of the room, holding a glass of champagne he hadn't paid for, wearing the vintage Rolex I had bought him. He was preening. That is the only word for it. He was accepting congratulations for a campaign he didn't design, shaking hands with executives he had fooled, and basking in a spotlight that belonged to me. I watched him from the doorway. I wasn't wearing the invisible cloak of the supportive girlfriend tonight. I was wearing a tailored emerald suit that screamed executive, not assistant. And standing next to me wasn't a man who treated me like a prop. It was Ryan. We walked into the room, and the energy shifted. People knew Ryan. He was respected for his integrity, not just his portfolio. When Sebastian saw us, his smile faltered for a fraction of a second, but then the mask slid back into place. He walked over, arm extended, trying to claim the narrative before I could speak. "Blair," he said, loud enough for his boss to hear. "So glad you could make it to celebrate my big night. Come, let's get a photo." He reached for my waist, trying to pull me into his orbit, trying to reduce me to the smiling woman on his arm. I stepped back. I didn't smile. "I am not here to celebrate you, Sebastian," I said, my voice clear and carrying over the low hum of conversation. "And I am definitely not here for a photo op. I wouldn't want to take credit for your process." The people standing nearby stopped talking. Sebastian's smile froze. "What are you talking about?" he hissed, dropping the charm. "Don't make a scene." "I don't need to make a scene," I said. "I just need to wait." At that moment the lights dimmed. The host took the stage. The Rising Star Award was the first on the docket. Sebastian straightened his jacket, ready to walk up. The host cleared his throat, looking at a card in his hand with a frown. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said. "Due to a formal inquiry regarding intellectual property theft and plagiarism filed earlier today by the Technova legal team, the Rising Star Award has been suspended pending a full investigation." The silence in the room was absolute. It wasn't just quiet. It was a vacuum. Every eye turned to Sebastian. His boss, who was standing 3 feet away, stepped back as if Sebastian were contagious. I watched Sebastian's face. And this is where I understood the true nature of the man I had wasted 18 months on. He didn't look heartbroken. He didn't look sorry. He looked terrified. It wasn't the terror of losing love or hurting someone. It was a specific, hollow panic known as narcissistic injury. When a narcissist loses control, they don't grieve the relationship. They grieve the loss of the mirror that reflected their false self. I wasn't a person to him. I was a prop that held up his fragile ego. I was the battery in his flashlight. And watching him stand there, stripped of the credit he stole, I realized he wasn't a genius. He was just a man who had forgotten that he was nothing without the people he used. He looked at me, his eyes wide and empty, realizing that the object he thought he owned had just become the architect of his ruin. I didn't stay to watch him be escorted out. I didn't need to. The look on his face was enough. I turned to Ryan. "I think I have seen enough," I said. Ryan nodded, his hand resting respectfully on the small of my back. "Let's go," he said. "We have a company to launch." We walked out, leaving Sebastian alone in the spotlight he had craved, which was now burning him alive. The pounding on my door started at 11 p.m. It wasn't the polite knock of a neighbor. It was the frantic, desperate hammering of a man who had lost everything. I looked through the peephole. Sebastian was standing there. The tuxedo was disheveled, the tie undone. The vintage Rolex was gone, probably pawned or hidden in shame. He looked like a ghost of the arrogant man who had dismissed me at the steakhouse just a week ago. I unlocked the deadbolt and opened the door. I didn't let him in. I stood in the threshold, blocking his entry to the sanctuary I paid for. "You ruined me," he screamed, his voice cracking. "How could you do this? I loved you. I did everything for us. That promotion was going to pay for our future." I watched him scream and I felt nothing. No fear. No guilt. No pity. It was like watching a bad actor recite lines from a script I had already burned. "You didn't do it for us, Sebastian," I said, my voice calm. "You did it for you. You erased me to look single. You stole my work to look talented. And you used me to feel important. There was never an US. There was just you and the things you consumed." He switched tactics instantly. The anger dissolved into pathetic begging. He reached for my hand. "Blair, please. Can fix this. We can fix this. I'll tell them it was a collaboration. I'll get you a job there. Just tell them you gave me permission. Please. They fired me. They are going to sue me." I pulled my hand away. It was the final transaction. I can't help you, I said. I don't work for you anymore. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small silver USB drive. I held it out to him. He stared at it, confused. What is this? He asked. It is the rest of your work, I said. I wiped my copies from your cloud drive. I deleted the backups. This is the only copy of the unfinished projects you claimed were yours. If you are the genius you say you are, you should have no problem finishing them. He took the drive, his hands shaking. He knew, and I knew, that the drive was useless to him because he didn't have the skill to execute the vision inside it. He was a conductor with no orchestra. Goodbye, Sebastian, I said. You can't do this, he whispered. I am nothing without this. Then you should have been someone else, I said. Close the door. I locked the deadbolt. I engaged the chain. I heard him stand there for a long minute, breathing heavy in the hallway. Then I heard his footsteps retreat. He didn't just leave my building. He left the industry. Within 48 hours, the news of his firing was public. The design community in this city is small and unforgiving. He was blacklisted. Rumor had it he moved back to his parents' house in Ohio, miles away from the high-rises and the accolades he thought he was entitled to. He was gone. 6 months later, the morning sun hit the exposed brick walls of my new office. The sign on the glass door read, Origin Design. It wasn't a massive corporate tower. It was a boutique studio, filled with light and the hum of creativity. I walked past the desks of my 3 junior designers, all young women, all talented, all credited for every single line they drew. I made a promise when I opened these doors. In this house, merit is the only currency. Ryan walked in with 2 coffees. He wasn't my savior. He was my partner. We had built this place together, brick by brick, based on a foundation of mutual respect and radical transparency. He placed the coffee on my desk and kissed my forehead. The Technova contract came through, he said, smiling. They want us for the rebranding. Legally. Smiled. The Technova account, the one Sebastian had stolen to get his promotion, was now mine. Not because I stole it back, but because I was the only one who could actually do the work. I looked at the contract and then I looked at the team I was building. For a long time I thought revenge meant destruction. I thought it meant burning his life to the ground. And I had done that, certainly. But looking at my life now, I realized that was just the demolition phase. The real revenge wasn't his exile. It was my empire. It was taking the energy I had wasted propping up a fraud and pouring it into my own foundation. This is the justice of the sower. You don't just pull up the weeds. You plant a garden so dense and vibrant that the weeds have no room to grow back. Sebastian was a weed. He thrived on neglect and silence. But I wasn't silent anymore. I had taken the narrative back. I had taken the credit back. And most importantly, I had taken myself back. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city skyline. Somewhere out there, Sebastian was probably telling a story about a crazy ex-girlfriend who ruined his life. But in here, in the reality I built, his name was never spoken. He didn't exist in my world anymore. He was just a lesson in the cost of silence. I turned back to my team. All right, I said, my voice steady and sure. Let's get to work. We have a legacy to build. If you've ever had to rebuild yourself after someone tried to take credit for your shine, share this story. Let's remind the world that talent cannot be stolen, only borrowed. And the rent is always due.